Welcome, everybody, to episode 9 of Boss Talks. We have a great guest today, Jennifer Carter with Fetch. I have gotten to know her over the last few months, and it's been fun to just learn from one another and finally meet in person at NAA. She's been in the industry for 13 years plus, both on the property management side and as a vendor. I would love it if you just give us an idea of your history in
Yeah.
this industry and how you got here to where you are now, and even how you started in property management.
So I'll first, before I get started, as many folks know in the industry, once you get in, you never get out. So,
It's true.
and I was one of those. Well, actually, I left. I'll get to that, and then I came back, but I did come back. I actually started back in 2009 as very intro to the industry. Never done it before, and I started off with a company called Aspen Square Management up in the Northeast, which is where I'm originally from, and traveling property manager, which is an interesting title. I was single back then and no kids. And it was a great role to jump in with them and do a lot of, I don't know, like everything. It was like marketing, which is what my degree's in, by the way. And so I covered for the manager, jumped in and did some extra leasing, learned student housing. But one of the cool things that they offer, particularly, was an opportunity to travel across the US, which is pretty cool, right? No ties. Let's go see what the world's about. And I traveled locally and then I traveled to Atlanta for it was like a 6-month stint kind of thing. They had multiple properties that I would go around and help out at. And so anything from leasing to maintenance to turning a unit, jumped right in and learned from the ground up. And so then after that role, which is basically how I got to Atlanta, where I am now, I started to and looked out for a job and ended up at Apartment Guide, which to those folks now is like rent. And
Mm.
so I really found myself loving marketing, loving and understanding the property actual basis of how property management works. So that was pretty neat. And having that experience of leasing and maintenance and really understanding the resident and all of that on site experience, I then helped and gained experience in sales. So I teamed up and worked with the sales team in Atlanta as well as an inside sales team. So I supported the sales reps. And one of my joys of my job, I love helping people. I love the position of at that time for Apartment Guide, I loved helping the sales reps meet their goals and understanding the client and making the client's experience better. I did that for about 5 years. And then somehow I liked the on-site teams. I went back to on-site teams as a director of marketing for two property management companies in two different capacities. And so I did that. One, I had the opportunity to focus on rebranding. So I rebranded several communities. And then the other one, I focused more a little bit on like numbers and leasing and training. Then I will tell you, and I know I see a lot of this in the apartment group on Facebook, but I left because I just felt, hey, I've been doing this for a long time. I'm tired. Do I really
Mm.
love it? Is it really where I want to be? And so I took a quick stint out. It wasn't long, it was only 8 months.
Oh,
But I quickly realized I love this crazy world that we're in. And I just wanted to come back. I came back and I ended up over at SatisFacts. And I will tell
okay.
you, it was a really great experience. I, again, loved working with clients, helping them be better at resident retention and understanding and having empathy for the on site team and what they need to do on a day to day basis. So I worked in that. And then prior to my most recent actually at Fetch, I was at Smart Rent. So wanting to get in the prop tech field. So I got in the prop tech field there. And then after that, I, of course, I'm now at Fetch with package management. So changing the way of packages and how they get to you.
What Fetch is doing is cool. There's a lot of people doing different things, trying to, it's a problem. The package thing is only growing. And at a property, as everybody knows that's watching, that's on site. And even if you're not on site, what's a problem? But
Listen, I ordered 7 packages in the last 4 days and
yeah,
they all came to my door.
and
Like I
you're
get
one
it.
person.
Exactly. A
Yeah.
lot of packages.
Property of 1,000 units times 7.
Insane. That's not even the
Right.
holidays. That was just me like ordering necessary things. Never mind
No,
unnecessary.
yeah, it's definitely something that is only gonna get progressively more intense, so makes
Yep.
sense, and your guys' solution at Fetch is pretty unique, and you guys, because you actually have your own almost distribution centers, right? Where you're
Yeah.
holding on to stuff, and then it delivers it once somebody says, "I want it."
Pretty much. We're the only one. We don't really have any direct competitors. Our model, I should say, is just one
Yeah.
of one of the only, right? We're a logistics company, right? Like to your point, we have our own facilities and we take that from the offsite team. So I think one of the cool eyes or lenses that I have continuously brought through like all of my career is that I still try to stay true and understanding to what happens on site. And I think one of the things is keeping that with me. I try to always remember, although the position has evolved from on site to what, you know, today, it's long ago since I was physically on site, but is understanding and having empathy for them. And so that's what I do love about all the positions I hold and that I do is I constantly remember of trying to help and mitigate all of the work that the on-site team should be doing. It's just it's not an easy job and I see it, hear it, and it's like just to have that empathy and be able to try to make their life a little bit easier
Right.
is something I love doing.
No, it's true. I never have been a person that worked on site, but I lived on site as I worked. As in a sense, I was a third party person. I was basically a part of the on site team. I just wasn't paid by that company directly.
Oh,
So I learned as much as I could from the people that did directly serve the property and leasing agent and also property managers. Got to know them really well. And I was there for almost 3 years. So I
oh
was I
wow.
was there on site just like them, and I learned a lot. It was eye-opening.
It is. It's like when you a day in the life, you're like, "Whoa, hold on. What are
The
all the things you're
things
doing?"
the things that there's operations, but there's also people, and then in your case, if a property
Yeah.
loses somebody's package in some capacity, it's not gonna be a good day.
No. No matter what it is. Exactly. Not a good day.
So, I can see your solution being very much an important piece of a community these days.
And for the resident and then also for the on-site team. So it's the resident's great because they can pick and choose when they want the package. We can hold the packages for up to 6 months. You can start ordering when you sign a lease,
Yeah.
right? So there's a lot of benefits on the resident side, but of course there's so much benefit to the management team or the on-site team too. Nobody's hired to move around boxes. Let's be
Yeah,
honest.
beyond the package part, there's also the last mile aspect where you guys are hiring people to do the deliveries. Communities are hard to navigate. If you've never been there before, you don't know
Yeah.
where the units are, so on and so forth. We've actually created a tool helping with that aspect of it. So we have a map community directory that geolocated, be able to navigate the community, whether it's a delivery driver, packages,
Oh, nice.
guest, whatever. And but it's only as good as the communities that have it. Hopefully, there's more adoption there, but it's a new thing. So I know there's some other companies that are up and coming doing similar stuff. So I know
It's the wave
uh,
of the future.
you look at Google like maps and it dies at the community. The last mile doesn't exist. You can see
Mhm.
buildings, but for one of your delivery drivers, there's probably some challenges there,
There is.
but you figure it out. You
Yeah,
get there
you
and you
do.
still deliver it.
Yep, yep.
But it's way better than having a room in the office that just has 1,000 packages. Goodness, I can't even imagine what that's like for those communities.
I would when the whole package thing started to uptick way prior to COVID, that's when I started and was in the field. So this is full circle for me because I used to order the lockers. And so now I'm kind of like the other solution. So it's been
Mm,
interesting to learn this side too as well. So which is great. So
for sure.
I love building connections. That's like my big thing. Like I love helping people. I love making people's lives easier. I love educating people on best practices and just being able to connect with people. I was told the other day I connected somebody and they were like, "Oh, you're just the glue." I was like, "I'm just the glue. I'm just connecting people. I'm just the connector. That's all I am." I'm like, "You guys
Yeah.
have fun."
Yeah. So getting back to your origin story in the industry, what parts did you love about being on site? And how did you even start going in the direction that you are? I know you got into a point where you got exposed to marketing and things, but did you have mentors and things like that kind of helped navigate the landscape a
Yeah.
little bit?
I will say, so I love marketing. That's like what my degree is, and that's a huge topic
Mhm.
generally nowadays, right? You can
Yeah.
be super specific. But I think one of the things that I'm innate and natured and that I embrace is that I love connecting with people. So on site, like I did love talking to people, right? Like leasing, I love showing people apartments. Like, I love being a pivotal piece in their story of why they're moving somewhere. I wanted to successfully help them and make it easier for them. That piece of marketing where it's, hey, what's working best? Let's find the best solution. So I feel in a way, as a marketing person, you're still talking to the consumer, but yet you're also figuring out what's the best way to reach them. But I would say one of my big mentors is a woman that hired me. She's still in this industry, Marlo Simmons. She hired me back at Apartment Guide. And to this day, she still keeps me honest, will tell me, hey, yes or no, like check me. And I think that's super great to have, right? Is to have great mentors that say, look, you can do this. And helps you with your strengths, but also isn't afraid to help you polish up the negative and
Mm,
be honest, right? With that.
yeah.
And so she hired me back when I started, and she's been a big advocate of me still to this day. And so I think it's from that, even like I've stemmed to take that and anybody I have under me or mentor me, or I want to do the same for them and helping them become better. She's definitely been a pivotal person in the very beginning. Like, I probably wouldn't be where I am without her. Like, she saw the opportunities, gave me the chances to do the things that she knew I could do or believed in me. And I think those are really great attributes in a mentor. And so honed in on what she saw I was great at.
It's good to have those people. Also, people that'll just tell you it is. If you don't have those people, then you're probably going down a road of just personal destruction.
Exactly. We all got to be checked. I mean, come on,
Yeah,
once in a while. Like,
for
so
sure.
she'll definitely say, hey, look, no go, don't do that. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, no, that's good. If you don't have one of those people in your life, make sure you get one because,
Professionally, personally, right? You need somebody to say, hey, look, like, that's not the best decision. Or reminding you that this industry is very small, right? And
mm,
so it's very large, but it's very small. And so
yeah,
it's really making sure that, hey, you stay in check. You're still who you are and be who you are, but that, we're small. Everybody knows everybody.
it's true. It's very true. And wherever you are, making sure you're not burning a bridge, but also asking for feedback and showing you're a team player and everything. After you, what was it? It was SatisFacts and then SmartRent is what they said the trajectory. So you jumped all in at SmartRent and during a crazy time for them, and you grew a team. You helped them go public, right? So what was that like? Was that
Crazy.
crazy?
Can I just say one word? Crazy. I think I learned the most, probably in the short amount of time about myself, even.
Okay.
Over the years, I've been trying to be more in tune with, and there's a lot of stuff out there. There's like ideograms, there's temperaments and personalities. So really being always checked in about I am as a person. So jumping
Mm,
over there, I've always had envisioned like managing a team. And I've always wanted that. That was like one of those check boxes where I'm like, hey, I want to make sure I check this off. And so I had the opportunity, right? So I took a team of maybe it was like two or three. I can't remember. Maybe it was two or five. It was less than five to a team of 12. And so I think there's two things. I think that one, it gives you an opportunity to make mistakes and learn from them because I sure
mm,
made mistakes. I made a couple of bad hires, learned from them. I'm not perfect
yeah.
as a manager. I definitely learned some things. And I also learned like how to manage, right? And that's through other people that mentored me. But I think that's where good mentors above me had given me the opportunity to lead a team and give me, because again, that's how you learn, is being put in those positions. So it's pretty cool. It was wild when things are moving left, right. The left arm may not be talking to the right arm. Everybody needs something, right? Trying to manage that, put parameters around that. And it was exciting, right? There's something about this industry that there's something different every day. And I love that. It was like a challenge almost for me. But at the same time, after Smart Rent went public, I also began to realize that it was a lot. And we all know prop tech, particularly small startups, you put your all in, but you also have to have boundaries. And so
Mm,
one of the things like I've learned is that, and to be really true and authentic, like a job is a job, right? I've come down to realize like a title is just a title, right?
yeah.
They're all things on paper. And so I think what it comes down to is like managing your, like, you can manage people and be a leader and a mentor, but you have to be able to manage yourself to be a good mentor or to be a good leader or to be a good boss or to do anything well. You have to have that centerpiece. And I learned that, I think, being at Smart Rent and going all over, doing everything and collaborating. And again, it was all exciting and great stuff. And I learned a lot of how to collaborate even more and, how to hire and how to fire, like all that kind of stuff and how to give criticism. But ultimately I realized like, hey, like this isn't 80 hours a week is not really what I want. Like I want
Oof.
to be able to be a contributor and be a part of something and be valued and but also manage myself because there's other things to life than just that. And so I just always like now I have the lens of, hey, make sure like you're good, make sure you're okay. And I took that experience to now even managing people. And I did a little bit even at Smart Rent. I wouldn't say I protected my team, but I was very gracious in saying, hey, go take a few hours, right? Go take a walk
Mm,
around the block. Like, it's okay. I got you. Being that barrier and showing them I appreciate them and we're all working a ton, but you got to offer that too so that people don't get burnt out. Crazy time, but I feel like it was probably the craziest time where I've learned so much about myself and as a team player, as a boss, a mentor, like what is a good one, what is not a good one, what do I want? So it was
mm.
cool. I don't think I'd actually trade it now that I think about it. It was a good learning experience.
When it comes to experiences, jobs, life, you got to be able to take something from it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it'll actually probably be more of a detriment to you than just saying, okay, this is something I'm going to learn from. I got to pick the things that were positive and see the negatives and not do them again.
Exactly, exactly. Change that up. Don't do it again.
We
Don't do
won't do
that.
this again. This wasn't
No,
good.
no.
This wasn't good for
Ex
me, other people, all of it.
Yeah,
So yeah,
exactly.
80 hours a week, you have a family of your own.
Mhm.
Like you can't, it's not sustainable.
It's
Like,
not sustainable. And I think the hardest thing too is like in that position, and I think everybody can relate to this, especially if you're remote and you have a lot, even your team, even whether you manage somebody or not, you just have a team of people. When you have people West Coast and East Coast, it's super hard
mm,
to put those boundaries in or to say no, right? Like, how do you do that? Oh, I manage the UK, then I managed
oh wow.
West Coast and I'm East Coast and I had Central people too. So it was like, trying to juggle like all of that to your point with my kids in the background. You're like, what? It was exciting. It was cool. It was pretty neat. And I think it's given me a new perspective, even in just prop tech, right? New companies, small startup. There's some
Mm,
stuff that's just innate that comes with it. But there's also ways that I think people as humans can manage time. And I think
mm,
time can get away from us. It's just learning from those things. I think I realized what I wanted and what I didn't want. Sometimes you want something and then you're there and then you're like, okay, this isn't really what I want anymore. And there's a time and a place for all different positions. But I think that I also learned that a title is just a title, right?
yeah.
I've come that that doesn't mean anything and to a degree. I was literally having this moment today. Evan and I was like, what if there was a system where you could upload your resumes, what you talent is, and then it would spit out the jobs based on your talent instead of title, right? 'Cause there's
Mm,
so many titles out there, especially in apartment industry, right? Like you have
yeah.
leasing agent, you have property manager, you have leasing specialist, you have concierge, you have a customer experience. Everybody's title's different. I had that aha moment. I was like, I don't know if that exists, but I was like, I needed something different. And I had the experience of let's call it startup, and
Mm,
that's what Fetch is, and I am okay with the everybody pitch in and do whatever and cross function, like, I like that stuff, but I
yeah.
also needed some parameters, some swim lanes, and I needed to hold myself accountable for that, and Fetch from a cultural perspective is awesome in that way. They're really is very respectful of your time, of the work-life balance, and that was something I really strived for because I do still like the get up and change up and figuring things out and finding a solution and
Yeah.
helping the clients and solving for their struggles. So it's like a good combo.
There's definitely some excitement around the startup, that
Mhm.
environment, but it's a funny world. We talk a lot about the funding aspect of a startup and oh, we're excited, we got more funding as a because it's a positive, it's a sign that
Sure.
somebody else still believes in what we're doing to keep this going.
Exactly.
But it's also a scary environment because if you don't get to that point of profitability where that funding's about to run out, do they still believe in us?
Yeah, I
Because
think
it'll all
yep,
just stop. It
yep,
just will end.
yep.
And if you're not profitable, so it's a weird world.
It is kind of a weird
Yeah.
world for sure.
So I guess that's the point, right? We got to get profitable quick.
Yeah, there is an end goal. There is an end goal.
Yes,
Yep,
yes.
yep.
Is there anything else that you wanted to share? I know you had some insights or ideas around where we're headed as an industry heading into 2023, things that you're seeing and maybe relating to your own experiences that people might find interesting.
You got any? What did I share with you? I don't remember. I'm just kidding. I do think that there's a couple of buzzwords that are out there, right?
Okay.
Centralization, ancillary services, which is where Fetch falls as ancillary services. I will say I'm really passionate about remembering that technology is never going to take the place of people, right? And we need to find a balance in that. And I hope we can do that as an industry. And people can't and shouldn't be fearful of losing their job. Like it might
Mhm.
look a little different than before, and we have to be open to that. But I do hope that we get to a point, the customer experience is what is the most important. And I remember that from my own phone calls personally, like when you try to call somebody, like I know chat bots are everywhere, but like people still want people. Like, and we can't miss
Mhm.
that. And I'm truly passionate about serving people and being helpful and being authentic and truly caring about people. So I hope and as we move forward as an industry, we can find the balance of that, not
Yeah.
just push technology. Because yes, technology is great. And I think it's yes, naturally where we're all headed, but there's got to be a combo to like what that looks like. And
Yeah.
we can't lose that. And so I do hope that we can do that as an industry and not forget about people and not replace them or try to replace them. Because let's face it, technology is not going away. And let's be honest, also technology breaks. So you need people to fix it. So
Yeah.
we can't get rid of people. Like as much as you're like,
And I
it's
think
great.
things are just gonna keep evolving and changing, and if somebody that's on, say, the property management side is afraid that they're gonna lose their job or whatever it is, what they also need to realize is there is the side that we're on, there's the
Mhm.
vendor side, and the thing that might, quote, unquote, "replace you" still needs people. And don't forget that.
Yep.
See it as one big ecosystem rather than it's us against them, because we're all
Yeah.
working together to serve the end user, the resident, the best we can. And just things evolve, things change, hopefully for the better. And if it's not better, then it will die. Even if there is adoption of a technology, doesn't mean that it will be the best thing
Mhm.
necessarily. And I
And
think,
I will say that to even circle back, like a lot of people wonder, oh, how did I make it to the vendor side? Like I think that I really enjoyed and understanding what happens on site. So I know there's a lot of people that are like, hey, I don't want to be on site anymore. And if that is their
mm,
choice, then that's great. Like you have expertise, right? Like you have understanding and you have a benefit to maybe going to the vendor side or choosing somewhere else in multifamily because you have those special talents that maybe somebody else doesn't have. So to
yeah,
your point, I think there is a lot of opportunity. And
yeah,
that's where I realized like, hey, I like being on the vendor side because I can relate and understand and help. I've been there. So, which is
yeah. Because a lot of these companies that we're a part of, they didn't get started necessarily by people that are in the industry. So they need the eyes, ears, and experience of people
Mhm.
to come in and say, hey, that's a good idea, but practically.
Exactly, exactly. Let me share how it can be better, all right? Or let's make it so it can be better adopted, right? Or
Right.
whatnot, for sure.
I just want to say thank you so much for being my episode 9 guest and keeping this Boss Talks thing going. It's
Absolutely.
been fun to get to know you, get to know other guests as well, but we all can learn from one another. We're all in this same industry. We're all seeing different sides of it and parts of it.
Yep.
So talking to one another is the best thing we can do
Ab-
to make the whole experience for the resident and even people on site better. Better package situation means better experience for both the people working there
Yes.
and the resident.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Two for one deal.
For sure. Just like Jennifer was a guest, you too could be a guest. Boss Talks is all about giving people a platform and an opportunity to share what they're the boss of and let other people learn from what you have done, where you've been through, what you've seen, just like we said. So let me know if you want to be a guest. And like you might have noticed, this is every Wednesday live on LinkedIn and Facebook. So the more guests, the better, because we can keep learning from one another.
Love
All
that.
right. Till next week, this is Boss Talks. I'm Evan Happel with Community Boss. See you later.